Hey, Podcast America. Welcome to episode, is this 62?
In Ireland?
I think this is episode 62 of the Enlightened Neanderthals podcast. And before we get into it, we can talk about my company, Training Northwest LLC, located in Granite Falls, Washington, where we run the firing range. And we recently did some ham radio and first aid, which went off really well.
It's all I hear. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do this. But like I said, all I hear is Game of Thrones. Fuck you guys.
Oh, God.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Training Northwest.
Yeah. We got Rifleman Camp coming up in August.
How many spots?
I think there's three left right now.
Three
left.
Those are going to go quick.
I hope so. But
Those are going to go quick. So hurry up and buy if you're listening to this.
I'm sure we'll fill it up. Electric North, Pantheon. Are these guys still putting out episodes? I have not listened to podcasts lately. I feel like we should figure out who is still putting out episodes and make a decision on who we grace with our endorsement.
Our words. You asshole.
There's seven people. There's 7 people who's going to hear this.
No, we'll just give respect and homage to all the homies at the gym that put out content for people to consume.
All right. Well, I know Christy's still putting out content on Coffee Talk with Christy Campbell.
Yes.
Will No-Tell and the Patriotic Islander, he is, I believe, been on hiatus because of his new endeavor he's been doing. But
I thought it was from me rolling his ankle.
Was that
He's
you?
just
Was that
felt
you?
shame and is like, I can't return to anything. Yeah. He stopped his
You
podcast.
want me to talk on a mic now? Good luck.
I rolled it super hard. Hurt his throat. Let's go. I don't think I've done this. Greg Anderson, Endless Endeavor. Get your fill of motivation and patriotism.
Stones and Bones Shaman himself, Tyler Stanaway, and the Compassionate Viking podcast.
And Danny Leyland with the White Melt Mafia.
That's all of them. Make
Is.
sure you listen to all of them.
Yes,
And all right, Mike, what do we talk about today?
Today was horrible, boys, because there was a draft in the United States of America. And we discussed, debated, came to no true conclusions, argued a lot, and veered off topic. But what it would be like to have a draft in the U.S. currently. There's a lot of talk of what it was in the past, and I think that kind of made us draw conclusions of what a draft in the U.S. today would look like. And I don't know. Where did we come with this? We came, but where?
We came all over. We came all over the place. So
No,
just,
I mean,
yeah.
do
Grab
it
a
at home
towel.
with your friends. Not the coming part. Not the coming part.
And
But the draft part. It's a good thing. Say, what do you think of a draft happened right now?
Enjoy the episode.
Yeah.
And we're off
To Podcast America.
to Podcast America. Okay, so you texted us topic today.
Yes.
You want to talk about
A draft.
a future draft.
Because in the news currently, what was it, the House or someone approved a bill for people between the ages of 18 and 40 to register for a national draft, which I think has happened in the
It's all
past.
right. Well, hang on. So I think all it did was digitize it. It took it online, which
I thought it also made it a federal crime,
So
but wasn't
18
it
to
already?
26, 18 to 26, and in order to be what it was before, and you're supposed to register.
I was just going to say there already was a selective
So-
service registration.
Yeah, so you're supposed. So yeah, I did the same thing. My bad.
Yeah.
So from 18 to 25, you're supposed to register for the selective service.
So did you guys go down to the post office when you turned 18 and fill out that little card?
Yeah, dude.
Oh, really? Of
course.
I don't think so. I don't know.
You fucking draft dodger.
I'm going to Canada, dude. Yeah.
No, I didn't. I think the cancer thing kind of
Didn't really matter.
pushed me out. Nobody.
You show up in a wheelchair to
Nobody
the post
wanted me.
office.
Nobody wanted me there.
Get out of here.
Like, what's his name at the beginning of Captain America?
We used to get so much. Like, I remember growing up, we'd get fucking letters from the Army and Marines and like just constant.
Saying
but-
they want you?
Yeah, it'd be all you can be, dude. It's just
Well, I mean, you
constant.
get little pamphlets, but you got like letters.
No.
like, to Jordan.
It was
Yeah, like postcards.
address postcards.
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was all
Yeah,
that. Like it wasn't like, hey, we need you.
Jordan
You're real-
Creek, we specifically.
Yeah, we need you. You're gonna make the difference in this peacetime military we have right now.
We got an idea who we want as Captain America, and we've been looking at you, son. You're like,
Yeah.
yes.
No. Anyway, so the draft thing I think has been since the 70s, right?
Yeah.
Like it's been the same thing, and it's 18 to 25 or 18 to 26 or something like that. But then what they did was they made it to where you automatically get signed up.
Okay. So yeah, they're just removing the part where you go down and fill out the card.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it just and
so just when you're born, like on your like they're like, here's the social security number, here's a birth certificate, and now the military knows you exist.
I'm sure. Or I mean, think about all the kids at school now. Everything's done on a laptop, so they've been logged into quote unquote the system since first grade.
Register through Facebook.
I mean,
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I started kind of looking at it was that I realized that we were supposed to sign up. I was like, oops.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tobin.
It sounds familiar,
I
but
feel like I'm letting you down.
No, I don't think they'd have taken you anyway, so I think you're good. And I'm sure Mike signed up. He was just super high and doesn't remember.
What the fuck?
dude, they
Mike,
lost
Mike
out.
did an 8-year enlistment. He doesn't remember.
Nam was nuts, boys. Yeah.
Oh shit.
No, but I think talking about a draft is kind of a cool subject because
Because they're beating the war machine right now, and like we talked about last episode or maybe one before that, the two fronts of actual total war as opposed to like sort of these low boil local conflicts, and we have all the potential of a World War III starting. And something that kind of dawned on me the other day is that, I don't know, do you guys remember 2002 when the Bush administration was really rattling the sabers pretty hard to go into Iraq? And it was from maybe, Jordan, you might have been too young, but I was on active duty, so we were paying very close attention to it.
Working with kickballs.
Yeah, exactly.
I was right about that. And it was recess time.
Yeah. Pizza day at the cafeteria.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
5th grade, my guy.
But at the time we didn't know. Are they going to go to, it sure seemed like they wanted to go to war in Iraq, but being naive, we would think that, well, who knows, maybe these special investigators or special envoys aren't going to find WMD, not knowing that it didn't really matter. In one way or another, they were going to go to war. Well, right now kind of feels the same way, where everybody is rattling the war drums, banging on the war drums, and it just feels like NATO wants to go to war.
yeah. Well, but we're seeing interesting times too in the war where Ukraine has enlisted a draft and they've gone through their youngest citizens, and now I think it goes up to 40-year-olds.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to think on America. Okay, two questions come to mind when I think about this and why I want to bring it up. The first one is what would it be like for a world war where America ran out of all the people in their 20s and low 30s to the point where you got to we're recruiting 40-year-olds.
I also wonder how many 20 to 35-year-olds of this generation are fit to fight.
Well, here's part two. If there was a draft in the United States and the youth did go first, do you think I think there's two possibilities of what could happen. One is you have a youth that doesn't see the reason to do it. Like, I don't have
Demoralized.
Yes.
Yes.
And look at how much kickback there is between Palestine and Israel. If there was World War III or there was a mandatory draft, I think the youth would kick back so much, right? And they would be like, we're out.
Yeah, they'd literally throw themselves on the floor and start wailing.
Yes.
And
So
that's
if
part
other
of
nations see that, that's instant time for movement.
That's
for
why
them.
demoralization is part of the communist strategy to take over. You're seeing an entire generation, and I don't mean demoralized as in they're sad. I mean demoralized as in they have they have no moral compass and they have no code of value or ethics. It's something that was not taught to them. It's not because they're bad people. It's just it's something that was not put into their lives. And it's kind of like shame on all of us as parents and as adults that we let that slip through.
Yeah, but also the place that children are going the most, like I say Mao Zedong, China all the time, because it's constructed not only to demoralize, but like, what is it? You're a sleeper cell and you don't even know it. Like you're so young, and
the Chinese are.
They did during Mao's rise, right? The youth
okay, so
were
you're
used.
talking People's Revolution.
Yeah, okay. But that's the same kind of thing where it's like the youth are demoralized,
the youth were
but they're
radicalized.
also
Yeah.
they're reprogrammed.
Yeah.
What's the difference between programming now and programming back then?
Not much.
If you
I think it's probably easier now.
Yeah.
You're right.
That's actually a really good point.
Yeah,
having a
Instagram
phone
and Facebook and
connection
YouTube,
constantly.
you can program the shit out of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Okay, so back to part one more time. Mike.
Oh, shit. So part one is that the youth are so disconnected from it that just the same way you see the youth kicking back against Israel and Palestine, and it's creating a problem.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, half of these youth will tell you that America is evil, capitalism is evil, the patriarchy is evil. None of these people can define any of the actual details of that. But again, the generation that is 20 to 35 right now, I don't think they'd be willing to fight.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how. Here's maybe the real question is how would that draft progress from the point they start issuing the draft notices to when people just don't show up? What do you do?
That's what I mean. Yeah. And so if other countries see it like, dude, America has no one coming. The people are just giving up.
So here's an interesting thought as far as like how this could go. What if nobody shows up for the draft, and that shows that the government has no more teeth, right? When the young people refuse to show up, when you summons them, then you're sort of what at that point you're a toothless tiger, right? And perhaps that is what it would take to actually cause the collapse of the government.
But then you create a vacuum.
Exactly. But hang on. So what you would be left with now if you're an outside, China or whoever who's looking, let's be honest, China's the only country that can invade here.
Cuba's looking pretty gnarly right now. They probably got some nukes over the weekend, let's be honest.
We brought ham sandwiches, bro. God damn it. But what you would be left with here is little pockets of people who aren't, I would say they're
resistance.
Yeah, but they still believe in the core of the country, not so much the corrupt government.
But then wouldn't an organized invading country like China just decimate us without like that army blanket, that federal protection?
That's what everybody thinks. But if you look at the Viet Minh, the Viet Cong, the Mujahideen, and the Taliban,
yeah, but why don't
they all beat the world's largest superpowers?
Dirty bomb this area and let everyone die and just come back and take it.
Because then,
there's all kinds of. But you could firebomb it and burn it over and take it back over.
I don't think the United States is so massive you can't just firebomb it.
It's a big area.
Yeah.
And how do you just exclude Canadians?
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. Your fire's pushing pretty close, America.
There's too much landmass and too much remote. Like we still have so much remote wilderness that there's no way that if people sort of started dispersing by necessity, you can't. And if there were. Exactly. There's also the cost. The Chinese don't have unlimited funds. In fact, their economy is in trouble right now too. So they don't have unlimited resources to just walk artillery across the entire surface of America.
Do you think if America fell apart, if there was a draft and there was a big war, do you think Canada would still continue to be an ally and help us out, or they would serve their best interests instantly?
Well, they're
the
talking
government
about
or the people
adding women to the draft as well. So
I mean,
that would
equal rights, right? Equal pay.
That's what I mean.
I mean,
Like that's that progressive.
The Canadians
kind of-
are, or we are?
We are.
Well, we should, because half of them are going to identify as
but
girls.
also when a bunch.
No.
but
they
also
have that, they have that in the.
What was the tie-in with Canada there?
They're females.
Oh, the Canadians are.
Yeah.
Oh.
No.
The Canadian government's already flipped hard to the left.
Yeah,
There's
No, the Canadian Army would not be coming to save us, but the people to the north, maybe. I don't know. It would depend on whether or not it touched their lives.
Do you think we prop Canada up more than Canada plays a role throughout the world with connections to other countries?
I think Canada just gets to be the little brother to the United Kingdom. So they always have. Hey, we're sending our troops over there. You send. Why don't you send a few hundred?
Well, their money's got the queen on it, right?
Yeah.
George Carlin said it best. They're the shitty apartment above a really cool party.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way of putting it. Yeah, so I mean, if you did have a draft and all of the youth were drafted first, I see it in, it can either be like we're giving up, like you say, you get summoned and you're not showing up. And enough people do it, and the government's like, well, what the fuck? We're going to put all these people in prison. We're losing force. Now we're going up the list, and we're going different ages. There, like you said, maybe something like that would create a ripple effect that collapses the whole system.
Yeah. I would hope that
And
at
then-
the point where they start expanding the draft into like the higher age groups, people start to realize it's because they're just killing people off like insects.
Ukraine?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
we're what Ukraine's
It's like,
winning. And the enlistment age is 40. Yeah.
Right.
Crazy. So it's like either the youth completely give up or the youth do get drafted and they do decide to
Or the youth
fight.
revolt.
Right. Or they revolt. Well, that revolt would be not showing up, in my opinion. That's the summons.
Okay.
Bunch of 18-year-olds aren't going to storm the gates of some military installation. Get out of here. Or your opposite, to me, would be that they enlist, they go in, and I feel like so much of World War II, there was a sense of people wanting to do it. And I think maybe in that aspect, you have more... Maybe bravery is the wrong word to be saying this is something
Enthusiasm.
Yes.
And patriotism. So people,
and when people
were,
are enthusiastic, they're going to put more energy into learning how to shoot, how to fly, how to do everything.
Yeah.
Like you said, the biggest thing you can have is someone be is not an ideologue, is like a religious zealot, like someone like a suicide bomber, someone that's so devoted to a cause.
true believer.
It puts the full, you can't get more devoted than blowing yourself up to a cause, but that's going to translate to effort put into what you're doing. If you have a bunch of kids that aren't in it and they get recruited, do you feel today's youth would have the same effort to slog through a D-Day?
No, and it brings up an interesting
Peleliu?
question, which is that they all claim to love Ukraine. You know, you've got like Ukrainian symbols on people's social media profiles and flag or little stickers in their car and whatnot. How many of those people would go volunteer to fight in the infantry in Ukraine?
Yeah.
Not a goddamn one, I bet.
Yeah.
That should be the first. That should be the first thing, the draft, because now that we have AI online, the draft program should comb everybody's social media. And if you have a Ukrainian flag in your profile somewhere, guess what, motherfucker? You're getting drafted first round. Doesn't come with a big contract like first round of the NFL though.
No, but wasn't that part of like when they did enact the draft that it basically it forced some people's hand a little bit, and they were like, you know what, I'd rather choose what I did than be put
a lot
in.
of people
like, there was
enlisted so they could choose Air Force or choose Navy or whatever, because those were viewed as less likely to see combat.
Yeah. Versus, so I think you'd probably see an uptick
So
in certain military
God, I don't think so.
You don't think so? You don't think people would
think
say,
this
you know what?
generation is so unpatriotic. Honestly, it might be a good thing. If it might actually start a revolt against the people that for once, we might all be aligned.
I don't know that the people that would be being drafted necessarily would be willing to go against the government.
I think that anytime they don't get their way, all they know to do, like when they feel emotional duress, is throw themselves on the floor and cry. And they've made it to adulthood being taught that that's how you deal with problems. And so now that's what we see in the streets.
That's true.
Do you think, though, if a draft did happen like that, not only like the children giving up, but like I was saying earlier, I think we were more involved in it back in World War II, and that created enthusiasm. And I know it's bad to say, but for a parent, maybe it is better to be enthusiastic about your child going to war, whereas you see the military machine and what it is today and how much of a meat grinder it is in so many conflicts that you don't feel are right. Maybe you don't want your children going to war. Maybe not only the children giving up. Do you think there would be a point where, like, the citizens, the parents, they're like, we're done paying taxes. Yeah. We're not going to
You will not get
the
my
card
children
at the
drafted.
post office.
You will not get my sons in the draft over my dead body.
Yeah.
If they choose to enlist, that's a different story. But there will be neither of my kids will be drafted. And that's a hard line in the sand.
Do you think it changed? Like,
hang on. So, and it is an interesting contrast going back to World War II, where there was a lot of enthusiasm for the war effort, but also that generation of parents had gone through World War I, so they knew how many potential casualties they were looking at when those boys got on trains and headed out for the East Coast.
Yeah,
which is man, I can't imagine watching my kids go off like that, knowing what they're headed for. Or at least with an understanding of what they possibly could be headed for.
It seems like a lot of them were going with their parents, right?
In World War II?
Wasn't there a few people
very,
fighting
very
both?
No.
I thought there was a lot of people who fought both.
Maybe some senior enlisted who were kept in. The Army was largely disbanded after World War I, and the beginning of World War II was a massive mobilization of the entire country, not just the Army, but like drafting all the men into the armed services and getting the women into the factories to support the war effort. And then even the older, if you were like age 30 or whatever up, you were being encouraged to go get a factory job, A, because we were breaking the Great Depression, and B, because they just needed material for the war. Forgot where I was going with that. Oh, fast forward to today, where parents will not have the same. So, like, parents may have had apprehension at seeing their kids go off into the draft in World War II, but then fast forward to Vietnam, where parents were trying to get their kids into college or sending them to Canada, and very few families were just kind of sitting back and being like, well, fuck it, I don't know what else to do. Let our kids get drafted. And I think this generation, like parents my age, that will also, that's another thing that could start just a complete collapse of the government, is when, dads, especially those of us who served overseas, and we kind of get the violence and the aftermath of it all and the long-term consequences. And we can see that we spent 20 years of that violence for absolutely fucking nothing. The world is weaker for it. America is weaker for it. The only people who benefited were the top dogs at the companies that make all the weapons. So I think you'll get a very strong pushback from this generation of parents.
Yeah.
Numbers wise, though, how many people were in the military through that war?
No, less than 1% of the population.
Yeah, so you think...
But it's a small number of veterans who will push back against it. But I think just parents in large are looking at, again, even if you're my age, mid-40s, then, and even if you're not a veteran, you still know that the country spent 20 years at war.
Yeah, in your heart of hearts, I think we all know, like, what the fuck was that?
And in the end, we're all like, for what? Yeah. What was that? What was the real reason? Because it wasn't hunting bin Laden.
But you felt World War II. You felt a lot more like, there's an absolute
there was a legitimate goal.
Game. Yeah.
If Hitler gets all of Europe, he's coming here next. Yeah. But that wasn't the case. At first, that was the case in the Middle East, where the Pentagon and the World Trade Towers had been attacked, and so everybody was behind it. And then somewhere in about 3-4 years, it's like, all right, so
what are we doing here?
What's the plan here, guys? And then it was like one more surge and one more this and one more that, and then this was one more shift here, and the tides are turning. We got this guy. Like, no, everybody can look back on that now with hindsight and say that was fucking useless. And so, I mean, we're back to, I think there will be a lot of resistance, both from parents and from people who receive a draft notice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you made a good point about the enthusiasm about parents, or just culture, and maybe parents in World War II compared to parents in Vietnam. And that's where you saw people burning draft cards, draft dodgers, but in parents that did not want their children going there for what they felt was an unneeded war for American lives, which are many wars.
And another aspect of that is that in the 1940s and then in the 1960s and 70s, we didn't have I guess we actually do have a lot more transparency of government right now than we ever have before, just because we have transparency of personal lives on an unprecedented level. And what does it want?
Yeah, it wants transparency,
like
Mike, like my people.
But I think that we are far more aware of the level of corruption in our government right now than as a society we ever have been before. And so once again, when the Nancy Pelosi's and the Chuck Schumers and the Joe Bidens and all these old fucks who have just been raping the system for 30, 40 years each are like, well, we got to institute a draft, send your kids off to war for our money laundering scheme. I again, stand the fuck by.
Yeah. Yeah, but you also say, like, the draft, how many people died in World War II? And I think maybe American deaths was 200,000 or somewhere around there.
I'd have to look it up.
I think it's somewhere around there. But then it's like, well, you also have to remember what the population in the United States was in the 40s. Maybe it was, I don't know, 30 million, maybe?
I don't know.
So it's like, yes, compared to the overall population, it's not as big. But if you look at the population of the United States in World War II or World War I, and then how many people died in World War I, it was like maybe 100,000 or something like that. But then the population is even smaller. Our population has grown quite a bit.
Hang on. I just had it. This could be the best way to deport all of the illegal immigrants who have made it in, which is to trick them into signing up for the draft. Then when they show up at the in-processing center, you just give them a UN blue helmet, ship them overseas, and it's like, suckers, had you stayed in your own country, eventually you would have got on the same deployment as a UN troop. Here you came full circle.
Well, aren't they talking about? Well, that's the big fear, is that you give illegals military citizenship.
Did you know that Seattle has announced that they're going to allow illegal immigrants to apply as police officers?
Is this how it really happens?
This is legit.
This it happening?
This is happening.
There's no fucking way I'm paying that ticket.
Right? Or maybe not even pulling over.
Dude, there's a fucking car with spinning rims. A police car with spinning rims. You're like, I'm not pulling over for this guy. I know where this leads.
Is that barbecue? Yeah. Oh, my God. All right, I derailed you.
No, you're good. I don't even know what the hell I was talking about.
The draft.
Yeah, well, duh. Yeah.
Right.
Nah, this is how it goes, though. We just go down. See, but this is the fun part about having... Mike can talk to himself in the mirror all he wants, right? But you don't get people to bounce things back. And it's like, oh, I didn't think about that. And it kind of, like you said, like, I do think that's a really good analogy of, oh, I remember where I was going now. That's a good analogy of World War II to Vietnam and just the mentality, and how in maybe this next World War with as much transparency, the the families, the parents, the citizens are like, fuck this, we're out.
Yeah.
You know, I do think that's a very solid point. But then, okay, so I was talking about amount of people that died versus population, World War I and World War II. And the amount of people grow, and so does the population. And it seemed to kind of have kept steady, right? It, like, as you grow from World War I to World War II, it's double. But from World War I to World War II, the population kind of doubled as well, right? So it's like, it kind of evens out. We have never had we've had the Civil War and the Revolutionary War, but those are still, once again, amount of people died to population, that's even smaller in comparison. If we had a world war where it touched our soils more, and what worries people, I think, a little bit is you see the coziness of maybe a cartel in a China or a South America and Cuba and Russia. I mean, there's just now a lot of players that have connections to people maybe we haven't treated the best in the South. I mean, same time as you're getting overrun. But if we could have alliances between a China and a Mexico, between a South America and a China, if you could have these alliances and they're like, hey, the United States needs to go out. Mexico is the no man's land where war in the front lines happens to push farther into the north. But we will set up, China will set up, North Korea will set up, Russia will set up on South America with the old Nazis, and we'll push our way north, right? But if World War III really touched U.S. soil, I think we catch up in the numbers because World War I was like 9 to 15 million. World War II, or billion. World War II was like 25 to maybe 40 million people that died. I think I said billion the first time.
Well, hang on. I was about to go. No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just going to say, if World War III happens on that track, World War I, 9 to 20 million people die. World War II, 25 to 40 million people die. World War III, let's say 50 to 100, 200 million people die. But if it's closer around our steps, we're going to feel that more, and that would disable America.
How would you get an invasion force across the ocean without being discovered?
Take out what discovers you.
Fucking ships.
World War III,
all the radars.
World War,
my God, how
World
many
War
are there?
III is blacking
hang
out.
on.
Isn't
There's a
bunch
caveat.
of tanker ships with fucking China written on the side of it that come.
Yeah, but if
I was just going to say,
Yeah.
unless you were already infiltrating them, and a lot of them were already here.
Your TVs are made somewhere where you don't know what's in them. It could be a whole system. Like you say, infrastructure is
It's
what
more
would
likely
take
to
you
be
down.
like smart warfare, where they just turn off the grid.
Yeah.
And then maybe all these...
let it implode.
Yeah.
But then our army's going to meet somewhere. You're still going to have military with a bunch of resources and planes and
Drones.
shit.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's better. China stays over there, or everyone stays, because if they shut us down, how are we going to have the resources
I think it's
to
more
go
like
after them?
if you starve the population and make life so chaotic and difficult, and this is the WEF strategy as well, is if their life has become just a struggle for survival, they will accept any solution.
Take the handout.
Yeah.
That handout happens to be
And,
China.
and that's why the WEF slogan is "From chaos comes order." Create the chaos first, and then create the order you want. So the Chinese could do the same thing with warfare and just sabotaging infrastructure, which it's almost already sabotaged. Yeah. Like it was manufactured, sabotaged with all these back doors and off switches and whatnot. So they can just turn it off, let the chaos ensue, and then swoop in to provide the order.
Yeah, and I don't even want to say, but I'm pretty sure that there's like spyware that they've found and like malware and stuff.
Yeah,
in
the grid.
Yeah.
Built in.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, where do we get this stuff?
Yeah, like I said, it's all made in China.
Yeah.
It was a bat.
Well, then it's like, why even have a draft? Like, if you're seriously involved in the highest of politics.
I think if you're 80 years old and your entire life has been just kind of getting what you want because you have the money and the influence, I don't think they have an understanding that people may say no. Like, in their mind, there are a few fringe people like me out there who openly say, no, fuck you, and that the rest of the population will fall in line when they're told. And that there's some validity to that. I may be completely wrong. Most parents may end up being like, oh, okay, they said to send your kid.
I think there's going to be a fucking.
I guess that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah.
But, you know what I mean? Those are all the parents who were taking their kids to get a COVID shot and
they're
putting a
they
mask on a
didn't fight
toddler.
for them there,
Yeah, exactly.
right? You
Yeah.
think they're going to keep?
But a lot
fighting
of
for 'em?
parents didn't. Majority of parents didn't get their kids.
You guys ever see that?
vaccinated, right?
A lot
No,
did.
A lot did,
did.
but
Fuck yeah.
percentage wise, I think it's
Over
over
50.
50% didn't get their
No,
kids vaccinated.
I think it's the other way. I think it's the other way around.
Have you seen that video of, like, they ask moms and, like, would you kill for your child? And they're like, and they him and haw, these moms,
Yeah.
like him and hawing about it, and then they're like, I don't think so.
Oh my God.
It's like, oh, what? What? I think that there's a lot of that sentiment,
Yeah.
which would create probably a pretty weak army.
Yeah.
But military rather. But it just, I don't know. I
Although-
don't think people would stand up in droves to say "fuck you, government."
Yeah.
I think a majority of the people are just kind of plugged in to fucking Netflix and all the other just programming shit, and they're just going about their day. And then if the government calms down, they're gonna say, "Okay."
Yeah.
How many people were wearing masks? How many people were fucking staying at home? How many, like, they're,
Take my children.
yes,
Yeah.
I do. They make it easier for me.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, taking my children.
Well, and also
is,
think about how many people were saying that if you're unwilling to get yourself vaccinated, the state should take your kids. Are those people going to refuse to give up their children for a draft? I don't know.
Tossing little Timmy right in the bus to
Yeah,
go.
Jesus.
Jesus
Could
Christ.
you imagine?
Here's your helmet. Yeah.
Yeah.
A draft is a weird thing. But then it's like I said, well, what if we do really end up somehow going to war and Mexico's a dead man's land? And like a Ukraine, what does it look like to have a draft to where 40-year-olds are being recruited?
It looks
Like,
like
So
all
what's
the
Ukraine's
20-year-olds have been killed.
population?
It's pretty good job. It's pretty small, maybe, I don't know, 30 million maybe?
Yeah, so about the size of Canada,
Yeah.
and we're sitting here at 10 times that.
Yeah.
So
Plus, yeah.
and let's not kid. There are some legitimate high school athletes. There's some, like, there's still
There's still
a
cream
lot
of, the
of
crop.
people who, as much as we think the children are weak, or, like, just the they're still fighters in our youth. It's just
But
the
will they
guidance
be?
to
Will
get
they
them
see
there.
the bullshit and will?
I think when you get put in the military and you get put in that situation, I don't think you do.
Do what?
I don't think you see the bullshit. I think you get the veils.
Oh, I think before.
drained
I'm
over your
wondering
eyes.
if before they even get into the military, which that's why recruitment is so low right now, is everybody's
fucking-
looking at the United States government. And
Until
honestly,
Taylor Swift
here's
says it's cool.
yeah, that's right. Here's another point, which is
Adolf
that
Switler.
this administration has spent so much time like gaying up the military that now they want to institute how would they justify instituting a draft for a fighting machine that they've intentionally made less lethal? And would they even institute a draft when they've it appears to me from the outside as though the military has been intentionally sabotaged. So is it really even worth talking about? Would this administration even bother to institute a draft when it's
Still, yeah.
it's
Good
trying
question,
it's trying to
actually.
defeat the military from within? Why would they bolster its numbers?
Or is that upper brass is really like, hey, we're not getting people.
Yeah, no
enlisted.
shit, because you've got your general wearing a fucking dog mask. You've got look at the cabinet. You know
General
what I mean?
Bow Wow.
Yeah, yeah. They've got the Navy SEAL recruitment ads with the two, like everybody being gay. Like, yay, join the team. Like we all knew, we all knew the SEALs are gay, right? But then they put it on an advertisement. And
They're just putting it out there, dude.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Don't Ask, Don't Tell.
Exactly.
Just a rainbow
Send the
canoe
SEAL team
going
down in the submarine.
What happens? So,
Yeah.
Pew.
Yeah. And then they wonder why recruitment numbers are down.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's so hard for me to have the enjoy talking shit about the military at all because I wasn't in it, right? So you can
I wasn't in it, but you see me enjoying it over here.
Hey boys,
I got input.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But
Hard
those
body boys, dude.
Those boys fought for my right to say those things.
Yeah, that's true.
Gotta give them respect for
That's
what
true.
they did.
And then they went down in their submarine and made out and fucked each other.
No way. Oh shit.
Oh my God. In the Navy.
Yeah, SEAL Team 6.
Keep
T9.
the night vision on.
Yeah.
You're a freak, Tony.
Ow. Your nods keep hitting me in the belly button. Oh my God.
Didn't serve.
Putting that out.
Oh shit.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that was surprising to me to find out that we were supposed to sign up for that little fucking deal. Never did. I don't think we did. Anyway.
I don't. I
don't think you can get into college if you have not registered.
Yeah.
I didn't do that either.
Yeah. Even community.
Oh well, never mind then.
You think it's a separate
Or
genre?
shit, who knows? He probably just checked the box, yes. And do they actually cross-reference that? Probably not.
I don't think so. I do kind of remember.
Was it on my FAFSA? There you go.
Yeah.
Student aid.
I do remember in school for maybe in high school, like social studies classes, maybe they did have us fill out some of that stuff for
I seem
kids
to
that were
remember
turning
that.
18.
I seem
We didn't
to
go to
remember
the
that.
postal office.
Come get them at the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I actually do.
Here I
remember
am.
that. Yeah.
Holding your lunch pail to recruitment officers.
Just back a cattle
Just
truck up
drag
to the
it.
lunchroom.
Yeah.
That does ring a bell.
Puts them in the wagon. Yeah. The train.
Sign here.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was one of those 18-year-olds in school still. October, I think my senior year, I turned 18.
I think I'm trying to remember. Senior year, I turned 18 right after or before. I think before. I don't know. Maybe after. It's all blur, bruh.
Wild
Spicoli over here. Yeah.
That was my skull.
Oh my God. All right, let's take a pee break.
Be right.
All right, so what do we got? This is part of the draft announcement, or not the draft announcement.
No, this is just the selective service. Like
who must register with selective
yeah. So
service. Okay.
it's all the typical shit that you'd expect, right? Like, anyway, it's all the people that you would normally expect, and then you go down to transgender people because they actually made a section for that, and it says U.S. citizens or immigrants who were assigned male at birth and changed their gender to female. Yes, you must sign up. And then individuals who were born female and have changed their gender to male, and no, they do not have to sign up.
So that's bullshit.
The military missed the I in inclusion
Yeah.
because they forgot those dudes.
That's
We
what
forgot a
I
couple
love
boys.
is that right there
Yeah.
is the military saying, yeah, there's two genders, idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know you can't cross.
But that's not woke. That's anti-woke, isn't it?
Well, it's trying.
Shouldn't-
It's
because
they're
the
dancing around it with language.
Yeah.
But they're saying that if you have a penis and testicles, you're
Or
a man.
had, or
Yeah, no
get
shit.
the verbiage
Oh
right.
yeah, you're gonna get some post-ops in there, huh?
See, but that's what I mean. That's not being like, everyone's fighting for equal rights. Why don't you make someone
Who's everyone?
I mean, woke
Them.
them. I mean, we're talking about
Or
how,
they.
I mean, the military did go woke, and it's like, well, hey man, if you're really preaching something you believe,
Hey, person.
yeah, hey guy, men are supposed to be women, women then can become men. Okay, so you're buying into this ideology. Fine then. So if a draft is supposed to have young military men, why does it matter whether you were a woman previously? If you're supposed to be
Excuse
so
me?
inclusive, why aren't you drafting former women that now identify as men? Why are you excluding them from your draft?
Well, that's what I'm saying, is that they're acknowledging that there's a difference between men and women, and men are warfighters.
Mm-hmm.
Sexist. It's the monarchy. Though.
Although, to be fair, there's like, if you look throughout both modern and like historical conflict, like there's some badass Kurdish women who fought ISIS, and all women.
Hey, you got Joan of Arc
like
and
platoons.
shit like that. Yeah. There was God damn it, Tim Kennedy posted it, but I've seen it before. But there was a Russian Jewish lady, and the Nazis were moving into her town, and she had already been killing tons of them.
Yeah.
And she's
That's
like,
that,
fuck it, I'm going to stay and die. And she murdered, like, I don't know, 20 or 30 of them.
Is that the
Really?
chick from the Enemy at the Gates movie? She fought in Stalingrad as a sniper.
I don't know.
Okay.
You just see, I mean, that's a crazy thing about World War II. They're like, this person was part of the resistance, and they killed 150 Nazis.
Now,
And
do you
then they
think-
were blown up in a caravan.
Yeah. Yeah, no shit.
And they have a little bridge named after them or something. But there was tons of freedom fighters. Like, you always talk about that spirit. But like,
or even just like
Do you feel
the old Polish guy who's tending bar or making coffee or whatever, and he was a resistance fighter, and yeah, exactly, killed 85 Nazis, and now he's just the little old man who owns the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Do you think
crazy.
you have a higher? I guess you're incognito to a certain degree, right? When you're a freedom fighter like that.
You would have to be.
So
or you're dead.
But you're also
But
viewed as
but I'm-
lesser as the peasant or the people
that's
we're
what I
moving
mean. Like,
through.
yeah, we're just not even gonna.
That's
pay
why
you
it's
any
rare for
mind.
like United
But
States.
it's like it
and-
kind of gives you a little bit more of a advantage to a
Yes.
certain degree, right? To
I mean,
able to
look
make moves like that. So, but then we celebrate those people for what they've done. But then you go, well, you were able to kind of just work your way in there.
That's what Sun Tzu says to do.
Yeah,
Swim through the masses like a fish through water, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there was a video you made at one point. And you talked
there
about
was.
that.
Yeah.
It got that thing was blowing up. I can't believe
Every
the
once in a
fucking
while,
government.
we've talked about this. Yeah, it'll spike and then it gets cut off, and it's like YouTube catches on that it's spiking after 2 days or 3 days, and then they're like, "Oh shit, turn it off."
That's a good video. It is a really good video. I think you did a really good job with that.
It was a good video.
All right.
Till
Good.
that throttled down.
I need to do more. I just have had my fucking plate full the last 9 months.
Yeah.
So,
That'll happen. Yeah, so swimming through water, like, so they're able to just swim through that water. What does that look like now? So say there was a draft, right? And they don't draft us or people, of the people who want to fight that aren't in the military that are like, how many of those people are going to be around in the U.S.? I think there's going to be a shitload. And I think they're going to be armed. Maybe not to the teeth, but I think
you're saying people who don't want to be drafted, but who would fight for the country on their own terms.
on their own terms and in their own territory.
Yes. Oh yeah. Agreed.
I think there would be a fuck ton.
But I also don't think, again, the landmass here is so big, nobody's going to try to occupy it with troops. That's the idea that we're going to fight Chinese soldiers or UN whatever on U.S. soil, I think is ridiculous.
I always think that's naive when you say that. To think is not a long-term strategy. I think you're brilliant and spot on when you say shutting down infrastructure, because throughout history, like World War II, you shut down infrastructure, but most places are used to being without power and have subsistence. Vietnam, it's fighting the same thing. It's people that were used to living in the environment. Afghanistan, people that were used to the environment. If you really wanted to take over the United States, like you say, bleed them slow, turn off infrastructure, but then you need a boots on the ground. You need a presence to become the overlord. What if there was...
That doesn't happen until, like I said, the chaos is so bad that people are just begging for a solution. And then whoever shows up and demonstrates good leadership always rises. So that's why you'll immediately have small bands that form, that over time coalesce into communities.
But
whoever shows up as a foreign entity with a strong leadership presence will have and offers an end to the chaos, like the order.
But isn't that the carpetbagger and the talk of rebuilding Gaza and rebuilding Germany? The force that defeats you then rebuilds you and provides infrastructure, makes money off the war, off defeating you,
it may be BlackRock that comes in offering order after all the chaos. I mean, they made all the money to bomb Ukraine, and now they have the contract to rebuild it, right?
Yeah,
hell of a business model.
Yeah, but that's what
who
I mean.
Would they use? Do you think? Because they wouldn't come in being BlackRock. They would come in being a foreign entity.
Yeah, or maybe just offer to like the United States of America isn't an incorporation. Maybe you just bankrupt it and start a new one under similar name or same name. I don't know.
McDonald's. They'll swoop in. Billions served every day. Yeah. How about serve me a road without a pothole? Yeah. But I mean,
pledge allegiance to the flag under the golden arches.
What if there was a terrific company and the world started to fall apart and they're like, here's American jobs. Let's provide as much as we can.
United States of Tesla.
But yeah. But I mean,
in Musk we trust.
What is it? But that's the idea of a free market. Is the market the market didn't used to represent conglomerates of heads and ideas to fucking take over the market. The market existed because of people would start ideas and technologies and business and product.
Yes.
Right?
Have you noticed innovation has been largely stifled in the United States the last 20, 30 years?
But what's wrong with a corporation in a way, if it did not seem nefarious or gross like corporations today, like an honest company like Boeing back in the day, World War II seemed like a good company. Like they promoted within, if you're a janitor, they would
McDonnell Douglas.
Yeah.
Which I think was like in the 90s maybe.
90s, yes. Yes, that is, yes. But, I mean, they're a terrific company. What if a company that slot through World War III in America and help rebuild them? I'm not saying it's the solution, but...
I'm just saying that either way, if you create chaos, then whoever can show up with...
aid.
Yeah, with aid and with a plan. Whoever can show up with a plan, and basically your leadership scope is going to be limited to your communication radius, I guess is what I would say. And so somebody who has a lot of resources can have, minions who are radio technicians and whatnot who can set up antennas and maybe even a distribution network. We used to pass out hand crank AM FM radios in Afghanistan and then show the locals how to tune into BBC London. Yeah. And they all thought it was cool because it was like a newfangled gadget and they liked to listen to the British news, but it's like, holy shit, we're literally out here helping spread propaganda. Yeah. And
they're fucking.
Yeah. So again, if you have the resources and the people of material, people, and wealth, then you can start to spread out your little expeditionary type groups. Pass out. I mean, this is just a one proposed model. Pass out little hand crank radios so that people can start listening to your broadcasts. And then if you have strong leadership tendencies, people will be drawn to you anyway. And then that radio broadcast would just expand your sphere of influence. Whereas someone who's living very primitively, their sphere of communication is going to be very small, say foot travel or horseback travel distance.
Word of mouth, stories,
tales. Exactly.
How are we going to get their show on the airwaves?
Ours, it already is.
Nah, for the hand crank radios.
Oh. Pirate radio, boy.
Broadcast.
Oh, yeah. We got Brent.
Gonna need a long antenna.
That's right. We're gonna need 6 hamsters on wheels and 12 grown men on spinner bikes.
Isn't that a real offense if you broadcast without a
Yes.
FCC
Yes.
license?
Yeah. Federal Communications Commission, something like that.
So, yeah. What do they do? They're like, hey,
Knock it off. Hey, you stop.
I would
stop
imagine,
saying pussy.
I would imagine they
Sorry, my bad.
start with fines, and then who knows? Yeah, you probably up to and including jail time.
Is that because it's for the public, the masses, so they feel it should be?
I think it's just so that every swinging dick doesn't have a
fucking
high-powered
podcast.
transmitter on there.
But what does that do? Like everyone's got a
Gums up the
internet,
radio waves.
but everyone's got.
Internet's all funneled into a landline, though. If you had everybody transmitting
you
radio
can
waves
stomp
willy-nilly off
over
the
other radio waves.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I get you. Yeah, you signal. Just get the hugest
just-
antenna you can get. Yeah,
You just throw popcorn up in the air and it'd cook.
they can hear me in Brazil. Do my Jewish impression.
Like a filter fish.
Bunch of blown away Brazilians.
Oh shoot. Yeah, I just can't imagine that would ever actually happen in the US. I know, like, I just can't.
Yeah, it seems wild as shit, and yet.
But life is wild.
So what
It's if
you're
you're
saying
paying
is so
attention
big.
to, though, it's like, God damn it, though. Every time I look at the news, it's like, oh, look,
A chess piece. of
15,000 cattle
way.
were killed in a dairy farm explosion in Texas, and it's like, since when do fucking dairy farms explode?
Yeah.
Right, and all the chicken,
no shit.
all the chicken yards that burned down over the last 2 years, or the chicken processing plants, and yeah, again, you go, well, no, that can't be right. This can't.
The Zen factory.
You know, it does make sense.
And conspiracy theory or not, the dollar is collapsing.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
so
yeah.
the 50-year contract with Saudis has eclipsed, and the oil is now going to be traded in Chinese yen and lira. Like there's now like 8 different currencies the Saudis are going to accept. So the dollar's strength around the world is about to topple. At which point there's going to be like a not a collateral, but like a delayed effect to us here at home, which honestly probably a pretty short delay, like weeks before that you see the dollar's value internationally really drop, which means all these cheap goods that we're used to getting, tennis shoes and microwaves and fucking you name it, all that shit on Amazon, it's all going to get really expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I said it was naive for you to say a land invasion was wrong, but I think it's naive for all of us, myself included, and the entire population of the United States. Like throughout history, did you think when Rome was in its peak, the Romans thought Rome could fall? Do you think Greece at its peak? Do you think Egypt at its peak, where they made unfathomable like land masses with stones, thought this is going to fall apart? The world changes.
If they were students of history, they would have known it. But here's another question. As the empire started to collapse, do you think they acknowledged it?
We talked about this. I think there were bums. I think bum populations probably took off. I think bum populations as Rome started to fall, because that's what becomes gypsies.
People became demoralized.
Yeah. I mean, they're just trying to survive. And so I think bum culture population, as money falls apart,
But
Hoovervilles.
Yeah, there you go. Not bums. Like, they're not necessarily just.
Yeah, there's a difference between bums and people who just
but I feel it's
destitute
easier
and
to fall
whatever
into
they have
bum
to.
life when life is so shitty around you. When people are on Pellaloo, it's much easier to go insane.
When that's the average person, you're not a bum. And that's the thing. It's like when everybody's
but
in
you
it
know
together,
when you're all bumming. When you used to have sweet sandals, and now?
Yeah, the Hoovervilles are more like scrounging for survival. That's kind of the opposite of bumming. Bumming is like the ultimate leisure, where everything is so good that you can just sort of slouch around in your bathrobe and your boxers all day.
But maybe this is it. Bumming of today is not the bumming of yesterday. But because bums of yesterday
are we talking
were
about?
drunks.
Are we talking about homeless street drug addicts?
Yeah,
or are we
'cause-
talking about like bums who don't like to go to work and
down
so
on
they
their luck.
I've lived in this area my entire life, and I have seen Seattle since a little kid. I used to go to Mariners games at the Kingdom. We used to, Folk
drop.
Life Festival, you name it. Seattle was such a cool, unique place in the 80s. And you would go downtown, and of course, when you go down, Bumbershoot was awesome.
All of it.
Saw Kanye there, saw Swollen Members there, saw
Akon.
who's saying we're gonna retarded in here?
We're getting what?
Get retarded in here. They changed it to Get Started in Here for the radio.
Oh yeah.
Black Eyed
Peas, yeah.
Wu-Tang, one of the best concerts ever. Sugar Ray, President. I mean, you want me to go
Sugar
down
Ray.
the list? Yeah.
Oh my god.
Every morning there's a halo. Yeah. Saw him live. But Seattle
big
was
deal.
a cool place. But anytime you go into a city, you're going to get a
Hobos.
little bit more, degenerate, seedy
but
people
that's
and
the
people that
difference.
are more dependent on substances. And it was like there's always some drunks and stuff like that. But to see what that has shifted from a couple guys sitting on a pair of stairs or like hanging out in an alley to now Taj Mahals of tents and boxes set up. This is not the bums of yesterday which exist today. The bums of today have evolved into a far stronger drug-addicted hybrid. Like they are
More aggressive, more violent.
but also
More money.
more of a leech off the system. Where the bums of yesterday used to kind of
Because the
manage.
system had created a ledge for these people because they didn't want them to fall off the edge of the fucking cliff. So they do just enough to keep them from actually falling off this cliff of fucking just life, right?
Yeah.
And they keep them in that perpetual state of fuck, right? And they're allowed to, and they give them all the stuff and allow them to have their fucking tent cities, little Hoovervilles that you call it, like. But that wasn't gonna fucking fly back in the early '90s.
No,
That shit
it never has
no.
until recently.
I mean, I remember there was a certain time when I was a
yeah.
kid and saw a bunch of people, a bunch of street people.
You see someone living under a
bums
freeway,
underneath the
maybe.
bridge. Yes,
Yes.
I saw some
Yeah,
people-
that was.
So poverty and drug addiction has become a hell of an enterprise.
Yes,
Yes.
people
And
are making
There's money to make.
Yeah.
Yes.
People are making money on it, and as soon as people make money on it,
It's here to stay.
It's here to stay, and
Until
it will
we really got to root
create
it out.
Well, it just becomes another class of people.
Yeah.
See,
Right?
but this,
Where it's not on
Yeah,
the
you're
fringes anymore. It's now a mainstream thing to be a fucking homeless, drug addicted piece of shit.
See, but this
they used
is-
to do it in the fucking Portland all the time, and you call street kids or the street tribes or whatever the fuck, and it's just like Skid Row and fucking.
bunch of degenerate.
you know what I
kids. Feral.
But
Yeah.
but it's like it's now become a culture,
It's cool.
and the fact that people literally.
I don't
It's-
even know that. Do you think it's? Yeah, it probably is. Never mind. I'm thinking about these people you see just sort of like bent over.
High as fuck.
Yeah,
Just-
just like
just
how could they have
allowed
culture?
to be.
But I guess they have a
That
way
is
of
like
life
because
Yeah.
there's 20 of them right there doing it.
Yeah.
And then when they get fucking straight again, or just straight enough to go find some more drugs, they go do it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you see them all fucking fucked up again. And I'm not saying it's fucking good. I'm not saying I want to join,
Yeah,
but I'm saying that they have their little
they have a way
fucking
of life,
clique,
and therefore they have
and
a
their
little bit of culture.
Yes, and their culture is being allowed to survive because society is too afraid to stomp it the fuck out because people are making money on it. And then we have that like leftist like tolerance fucking
Well,
mindset in the cities.
It's not my responsibility. The government that will do something about this. The government will take care of us. The government will
But
take.
what
well,
they
no, but the
should.
government
But
government
they
ties
don't.
your fucking hands to go take care of it yourself too. That's the problem.
True, but it's like I think places like that have had legalized drugs for a long time, like Denmark and places like that, prostitution's legal, drugs are legal, and it's like, listen, man, you can have a bunch of heroin in your pocket, you're fine. The problem is when you're in the middle of the street doing heroin, that's our problem. If you can do heroin and have a
your fucking
successful
job,
job,
great.
fine. But then it's like, okay, I see the fucking slippery slope. So, and it's like, as a guy
Life
that
is your
does
fucking tightrope
enjoy
to walk.
certain drugs from time to time, I quit giggling. I think though, it's like, yeah, I think it should be. It's like, handle your shit, man. Handle your high, but if high is available all around, We have to recognize that. If someone in our circle gets fucked up with pills or fucked up with alcohol, it's our duty to say and step in. And yes, maybe that's a citizen, but also as a government that's like, I'm supposed to be here to make the citizen's life better. I think treatment should be completely reevaluated. And this thing of we're helping them, we're being compassionate. It's like, you are not being compassionate. No. You're more likely to get this guy murdered. You're more likely to get this girl raped. You're more maybe likely to get this guy raped. But crimes, you're a drain on society. And you nail it with that, but with where it's taking away.
So
because it's an industry.
We should draft them too.
Oh, they're in it.
Oh, right? Dude, a crackhead mortar team on Peleliu.
Yeah, go get them, boys.
Fire! Just slumped over. Yeah.
No, I think it's the fear of intolerance is what's allowing this to continue, right? And it's nothing more than that, because it's just like putting the black fucking square on your Instagram or the flag or whatever. I think they want to be able to virtue signal, like, and not really have to do anything about it.
Yeah, that's the reality. Is nobody knows what to do anymore.
I think everybody knows exactly what to fucking do.
No,
that's the problem.
No. Most people don't think like you, where they come up with a plan of action. Most people hope that somebody else will
fix his problem so I can take Timmy to football practice.
But that's what I'm saying. Somebody who has a fucking plan. And I mean, we've looked at trebuchets and we've all this.
No, we haven't looked at trebuchets. We're in the design phase.
That's what I'm saying. And that's what
R&D.
Oh yeah, I got the crayons out and everything.
But so to that degree, right? So you start looking at ways to solve problems, and then all of a sudden people are like, whoa. I don't agree with that, what you're doing. It's like, do you want the problem fucking solved?
Do we have any artists who listen to this show? Because someone needs, all right, I will print some T-shirts if someone can get us a T-shirt logo that has a trebuchet and a killer whale on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, fucking little fentanyl foe just getting fucking hucked into the ocean. Mm-hmm. But I mean, there you go. There's one extreme version of how to solve it. Maybe some people,
but that's how you get.
Some people think it's extreme. I think it's very practical.
I mean, this sounds like good old fashioned. Like the kids can help you construct the thing. You got to learn how to balance it all out and
cut out paper here.
Yeah. Physics. It's all the
get
stuff.
Everybody involved.
Yeah, and I mean, realistically, depending on what you make it out of,
and killer whales like snacks.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe they even want to get high.
Yeah, we're gonna only find out for.
Wasn't there something where dolphins get high? Like they eat a puffer fish or something weird, or a starfish. And they get
something
all
down
fucked
under.
up. Yeah. But all kinds of animals.
Some
get
Australian
Birds.
dolphins.
Dude, do you remember years ago at the Boeing freeway? There was a truck that flipped over and it was carrying a bunch of berries, and a bunch of them had sat too long on the bottom and they got fermented, and a bunch of birds ate them. Like at the airport where they're flying planes and it's Boeing's production area. Dude, they shut down the entire area like aliens. Dude, they got drunk off of fermented berries.
Okay. I had a dog in high school who liked to hotbox my car with me.
That was his decision.
Oh no! Let me roll up that window there.
I would let her smell the sack of marijuana, and she'd get super happy. Yeah, and she'd run to the car and like wag her tail.
Like, we're going on a road trip.
She probably had glaucoma. Yeah. She had joint pain, I
heard. My dad has a bunch of grapes in his yard, and he let them all hit the ground one year, and a bird fucking broke its neck and flying into his window.
Oh yeah.
He was like, "Oh, these birds are all fucked up out here,
messed up." Yeah. But animals like to get high. Like there's that jaguar
everybody
that
does.
eats.
Everybody does. Everybody does. That's why religions have to say, "Hey, we probably shouldn't do this," because everybody would do it, right? So there's rules and like things that are people.
But people get high off of religion. That's the weird thing about getting high. You don't have to get high to get high. You know what I mean? Bumper sticker.
Some Sunday school shit.
Yeah. But that's everyone. That's a cult. Look at yourself when you got into wrestling. Look at myself when I got into jiu-jitsu and that shit. It's like, dude, I mean, pair that with marijuana, and it's even more amazing. But it's addictive just as much as I wanted to be slumped over, but in a mat room because I was sore.
At the end of the day, we all wake up feeling like shit. So no matter what, as long as you're living, you're gonna feel it.
Oh my god. Oh man, what were we talking about the draft?
The draft.
Yeah. Where did we wander off?
I think you said, are we gonna allow the drug addicts to get drafted?
Oh, there we go. Why not?
That's a bad force.
No.
Your
Put
weakest-
them through compulsory detox and rehab and put them straight on the front line.
That's another 6 weeks.
Give them some new
maybe.
teeth.
Nah.
I mean, the medical bills just to get them straight.
I'm saying junkies.
Hang on.
Junkies.
If you're Joe Biden and your goal is to get us into another meat grinder, let's take the dregs of society first.
Don't put the
before
good
you
equipment on
before
them
you
when you send them out.
yeah.
No,
The
no.
old
Yeah.
shady.
We got all
Good
that. We got
BB guns.
equipment.
We got all that surplus.
America invaded with a paintball team.
Hey, you know what? Yeah,
Junkies
exactly.
running around.
Another reason we left all that shit in Afghanistan. So you guys just got to bring your own shit.
You guys
Yeah.
gotta bring your own shit.
No.
Bunch of stolen Glocks all over.
Junkies are bad for the war. I don't.
We've just put them out.
I'll say this. I
put 'em
kind of
out
want to. I kind of want to talk about this. I
Give
thought
'em
it
a
was.
go-kart.
Start doing ISIS type training where you have to like kill a man in boot camp.
Not my partner. Not my partner.
And those guys.
Shit. I'll say this. I thought this was kind of an interesting subject just because it is a little multifaceted. And after tonight's debate, I do think a draft, if it really was enacted, might cripple the United States. I think it's something where so many people have look at, like you said, how many people got vaccinated during COVID, but then also from COVID, how many people are like, wait,
Learn their
Are you-
lesson.
in
are you
retrospective, that
thinking-
doesn't seem like a good lesson.
Are you thinking because it would pull the veil off of how weak the
I
US
think there's
is?
so much transparency, especially after Iraq, Afghanistan, what we're lured to in with 9/11. If you, like you say, if you do read history, you learn the dirtiness of the Vietnams, of Korea, of conflicts that were technically, I mean,
the Gulf of Tonkin, the Lusitania.
overthrowing of governments, just even democracies in the name of democracies.
Yeah, and
I don't think the national motivation would be behind a draft. I think that might break the United States.
I agree.
And I think it's that saying that out loud is good because it's like, let's realize the thin ice we're on, and that before it breaks, you have a chance to fix it. You have a chance to maybe, I guess, I don't know, vote for right politicians, hopefully, or have the strong members in your community stand up and become those people. And I don't know. It's like there is a chance, but
Is there
if a
is there
draft
any-
happens in World War III,
Is
we're
there
fucked, boys.
any low hanging fruit that you guys would say like would put us in some, at least the right trajectory or the right direction, or start even steering the ship? Or are we like, is there everything is
Term
just
limits.
so big?
Term limits,
That's
just
not
getting
low-hanging fruit. That's
term limits and money, man. Term limits and money. Getting money out, having a
how do you
definitive
get rid
allocated, a finite
Hang on.
amount that you
But when-
use.
well.
If
but-
you set a governor on what's allowed monetarily, you can't inflate the system. You can't inflate how much publicity or press.
I think the military-industrial complex has gotten so strong.
Yeah, good
Whatever
point.
laws you
Good
pass
point.
saying you can only donate, it's not going to matter. They run the show. I think you have two wings. You have the military-industrial complex, and then you have the big banks and the central banks,
funding, and
right? And it's
corruption,
it's this two-headed snake that has a shitload of resources and power.
yeah.
No.
Jordan has a very good point. There has to be a way in which you can bridge this. And it's like, It hurts me when I see
we can collapse it if everybody just says we're done playing. You voluntarily pay your taxes. You voluntarily support. You voluntarily follow all the rules.
But a collapse is
People's like, I haven't renewed my license plate tabs in 4 years or 3 years, something like that. It's like, why? Because I don't actually have to. It's voluntary.
You know,
every time you follow one of these regulatory whatever laws, you do it willfully.
Yeah.
And I think there is, if enough people, there's 350 million people in this country. Imagine if 1 million just said, "I'm no longer participating in the system."
Yeah, Wesley Snipes did it. Got locked up.
Yeah,
what do you mean?
But that's one guy.
Wesley Snipes.
He didn't pay taxes
Passenger
on
57.
something. Yeah,
he didn't pay taxes for like 8 years.
So, but imagine if a bunch of people just said, "Well, I'm not going to work today."
It'd have to be a collective.
Yeah.
Yeah. It'd have to,
it would have to be a couple million people.
But that's where I think if something so as extreme as
look at we should do a full
draft.
episode actually on the Bundy Ranch sometime. Give ourselves some
Yeah,
time
we've
to
talked
do some
about that. That
research.
might not be
because
a bad
look
one.
what happens when someone actually says, "No, you don't get to push us around. This is our property." And then the FBI says, "Yes, we do get to push you around." They said, "No, if you want to come fight about it, you can." And you end up with a standoff. And in the end, the FBI backed down, and I think they even won in court. The Bundys did. The family did.
Do you know
they're grazing their cattle on that land
Public
right
land.
now? I think.
Yeah. Do you know the only people to have lost in court?
It wasn't their own land. Sorry, it was like a federal.
Yeah. Grazing lands.
Yeah.
Do you know the only people to beat in court the IRS? Do you know?
No.
Scientologists.
Are they really?
When Scientology filed for religious exemption, the IRS said, "Fuck you. We don't believe that." And the Scientology department was so infiltrated with money and lawyers that every lawyer that was a Scientologist filed a lawsuit with the IRS. And so it was like
there was a
50,000 lawsuits all of a sudden.
Yeah,
and the
like a swarming
IRS
attack.
said, "You know what? You're good.
drop them all.
We'll drop them all and we'll see your religious exemption." So it is interesting when the masses speak, think systems of power have to listen.
Because all their resources come from us, right?
Yeah.
They don't
The moss on the back comes off the log.
If you think of society as a giant system, then there are people who inject value and energy into the system and people who extract it. The three of us all inject energy into the system. People who don't create anything, they're extracting energy. So they rely on us to go to work, and all that really takes is for us, if enough of us just say, "No, we're not doing that anymore. Well, I'll go back to work when I'm not paying taxes anymore."
What percentage of the population do you think would cripple the government stop paying taxes? This is where we get flagged, actually. But I'm saying just for research or info. I mean, this is just
I don't know,
question.
because the earning. So if there's 350 million people in America, then I would guess that
I
only
feel
half
like
of those are of earning age, because you have children and retirees, right?
Yeah.
So let's say 175,000 or million of earning age, and
I'd
then
say it's fucking 20 million people.
actually earn, and then because you're going to winnow down to like now you're down to people of earning age. How many of them actually have a job, right? I don't know what the true, because it's not, the unemployment rate isn't a true indicator of how many people work, because some people are not looking for work, right? And then how many people who are employed at minimum wage because they're 35 years old, and for whatever reason they never got the memo that minimum wage job was an entry level job, and then you're supposed to try to like keep going from there.
Yeah.
When you finally get down to people who inject, like they do something that is of high enough value that they put in enough energy into the system that they live well within the system.
Yeah.
You're down to a pretty small number,
So
I
I mean,
think.
like probably 20 million people.
So then do you think rich people would be more likely to keep paying taxes as society crumbles, whereas poor people might be the first to say, "No, fuck it, we're out"?
Yeah.
Because so ingrained in the system, you're going to play by the rules,
Although
technically.
Yeah.
A lot of those people are so dependent on the system
Because
because
you're
just,
playing ball no matter what. You're already in it. You're a coach.
No. You're dependent of the system.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean.
And you're thriving in it, right? If
Well,
you're thriving in it, you have no reason to see it crumble and fall away.
I don't know that those low people are thriving. But
I thought we were talking about
no.
wealthy,
I was
wealthy
talking
people.
about rich.
Oh, okay.
We're talking about wealthy people.
I think people economically the worst would be the first to say, fuck it.
They would have to have the strongest morals.
Rich people.
For the cause.
Dave Portnoy.
Right. They would have to just say, hey, you know what? It's not worth it to me anymore. And who knows what's going to happen to my money,
You have to be willing to
you know
lose
what?
everything.
Fuck it. Yeah.
But those are the people that become martyrs.
Yeah.
Or the people that have the most to lose and still risk it.
What's the Janis Joplin line? Freedom is just another way of saying nothing left to lose.
Team America, freedom ain't free.
Costs $1.25.
I've never seen it.
Really? Oh wow.
Are you serious?
No. I
was gonna say.
I don't stoop to that low of comedy.
Likes highbrow.
I'm a highbrow kind of guy. I'm a high society, a highfalutin, as they say.
Well, speaking of highfalutin, comedy like this should not go over a time of which it's not appreciated. Gentlemen.
Are we wrapping it up? What he means to say is that it's a Tuesday night, we're fucking tired, and we're running out of energy.
Yeah.
Good night, bitches.
Later.